My friends, it is time for the Friday mailbag. You can email info@davidpakman.com if you have something you'd like to say. Sometimes tweets or YouTube comments or Instagram comments may be included as well. Don't abuse info@davidpakman.com. It's not good for you and it's not good for me either. Let's just jump in with the first message. This one is from Charles. Charles is writing about the Hunter Biden laptop. And Charles says, well, since the laptop has been deemed real, why don't you look into it and then say it's not a big deal? I almost feel bad for the Cuckman. I think that's me. He goes through his whole life thinking he is intellectually capable. David Pakman is the Cuckman. He makes his wife's boyfriend a Sammy after he slays her and thanks her for the opportunity to watch. Him and Will Smith should hand out. They can be a good support system for each other. Both are cucks. Both of their wives have public relations with others. This is the level of people who want to decide who else is intellectually capable. Now, as we've said before, we've talked about the Hunter Biden laptop story. The story is filled with misinformation and also has nothing to do with Joe Biden. So to the extent that the story is a media story, we've talked about it, but that's about as far as I'm interested in going with the Hunter Biden laptop. Polar wrote in and said, when most people look at David Pakman, they just see a dude. When conservatives look at David Pakman, they somehow detect foreign-born, Jewish, East Coast urban dweller, and most offensively of all, not at all an outrage-crazed maniac. Yeah, I'll talk with other hosts of shows like mine, and we'll talk about kind of like the tone and tenor of the hate mail and the antagonistic comments that we get. And everybody else says to me, they are regularly shocked by the focus on Judaism in the messages that I get. It'd be interesting to talk. Sam Cedar, I don't want to speak out of turn, but Sam has at least suggested that he doesn't get nearly as much anti-Semitic stuff as I do, even though Sam is Jewish. And I don't know what that's about. But in speaking with like Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, we've talked about it also. You know, he gets stuff based on him being, quote, Muslim or Turkish. And I get a lot of anti-Semitic stuff and a lot of go back to Mexico, go back to Venezuela stuff, even though I'm from Argentina. That's another thing. And yeah, there's often, it's not only about stereotypes. It's also about ignorance as to whom do those stereotypes even apply. Like, I'm from Argentina. Why would I go back to Venezuela? I've never even been there. Next message is from Rhonda. Rhonda says, yeah, Dave, speaking of which, yeah, David, you do look like maybe you are Jewish. I know several Latins that are fair-skinned and look Jewish. Well, thank you, Rhonda, for defending that I could be both Hispanic and Jewish. No, a lot of people don't know that Argentina is a very white country. It's not, I'm not giving my opinion of whether that's good or bad. You know, there's lots of white supremacists who ended up, Nazi types who ended up in Argentina after World War II, and a lot of Jewish refugees who ended up in Argentina. I'm just saying there's a lot of what we would consider white people in Argentina. That's a fact, not an opinion. But thank you, Rhonda. All right, into some more substantive stuff. John says, David, have you thought about adding a co-host to your show? Don't get me wrong. I love your show and enjoy listening to it just like it is. And I also like the guest hosts when you're on vacation, like Farron and Jesse. But I like the Young Turks too, because it's fun listening to multiple hosts bouncing ideas and opinions off each other on the topic being discussed. Just an idea. So here's the thing with this. You can always change your show to be more like a different show. And at one point in the past, we had not really co-hosts, but we would sometimes have, like producers would weigh in or whatever. Not every show can be the same. So this show doesn't have co-hosts, and that's what this show is. If people only like shows with co-hosts, those shows exist, but my view is not every show has to be the same. So this show it's just me giving my thoughts, and we have callers and we have other things. There are other shows with co-hosts and no audience participation. There are also shows that do a little bit of both. Every show is different. There's a show out there for everyone, but this is how our show is set up for the time being. Nicholas wrote in about the RNC withdrawing from the Commission on Presidential Debates, something we talked about previously, as well as earlier this week. Nicholas said, hear me out. Have a debate that's just a Democrat and a third party. Imagine if you had Biden or some Democrat and Justin Amash debating and just left Republicans out of it. The RNC would be like, no, you weren't supposed to do that. And it would be amazing. Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot. And this even came up on our bonus show discussion earlier this week about Republicans seemingly bailing on presidential debates. The idea of Republicans is to delegitimize or delegitimate, the presidential debates by saying they are biased and the Commission on Presidential Debates is partisan and we're just getting out. And they're imagining, of course, that would leave only the Democratic nominee and that there would just be no debates whatsoever. It is true that if you had, I've always said I want third parties to have more of a presence in American politics. If you had a stronger third party candidate or multiple candidates and the commission organized legitimate debates where you had the Democratic nominee as well as those third party candidates, it might make the RNC lose their mind. That's absolutely true. The risk, of course, is that because there's no Republican in the presidential debates, very few Republicans even watch it. You have a Democrat with a couple of third party candidates, and all it serves to do is to siphon off some voters from the Democratic candidate to those third party candidates. So I think it is not a strategy without risk. It would absolutely trigger Republicans to be left out for sure. It might be to their benefit. And so I think it has to be thought through very carefully. Harb wrote in with an idea for a different 5-day work week. Now, we've been talking a lot about the 4-day work week. The 4-day work week, the idea is you have a 4-day work week and a 3-day weekend. Every week, you do a little bit of adjustment of hours, you do a little bit of adjustment of expectations, and you sort of like more or less get the same amount of work done in information type jobs, knowledge jobs. This doesn't work when it's about a retail store being open, as you would in a 5-day work week. Harb has a different idea, which is a 5-day work week, which is 3 days on, 2 days off. So the weekends move. And the idea would be you do 3 10-hour days and then you get 2 days off. And then you get another 3 10-hour days and then you get 2 days off. So the 2 days off shift throughout the week. It's a little complicated, but the idea is that you end up working a little more each year, but you also have more days off each year. And this will allow people to have both weekdays off and weekends off. I think it's really interesting and there's a lot of sense in it. And I've heard proposals like this before. The difficulty is it does become a nightmare for childcare. It becomes a nightmare for a lot of different things where you have to know, okay, if I'm making a doctor's appointment for 6 months in advance, is this the week where I have Wednesday and Thursday off? Or is this the week where I have Saturday and Sunday off? So there's a lot of complexities to it. That's not a reason not to do it, but it seems very difficult to imagine that the working world at large is going to be interested in such a proposal. But I find all of these things super interesting. Cher wrote in about Dr. Phil. Now here I have to say I misspoke on the show last week. Okay. Cher wrote in and said, hey, David, it is incorrect to say Dr. Phil isn't a real doctor. Well, first of all, I didn't say that. Okay. But I'm going to read the email as is, and then I'll issue my correction. It's incorrect that Dr. Phil isn't a real doctor. He has a BA in psychology. He got his master's in experimental psychology and a PhD in clinical psychology at North Texas State University. He stopped renewing his license in 2006. He is a retired doctor of psychology. So I misremembered. Dr. Phil is a psychologist. He is not a medical doctor. and he does not have an active license. I wrongly said he was not a psychologist. I was wrong when I said that. The segment had nothing to do with Dr. Phil, fortunately. It was just sort of like an aside, but I misspoke. He has not renewed his license. He doesn't have an active license. Jose wrote in about Rumble saying, hey, David, I wanted updates on why you haven't uploaded videos to Rumble recently. I think it's good to try and grow an audience where left-wing content is almost non-existent. Yeah, we continue putting up our content on Rumble, which is the right-wing video platform. There was about a 10-day period where Rumble wasn't publishing our videos. There was some kind of glitch. We didn't stop. They fixed it. Now, I don't know how much longer the Rumble experiment is going to go on. We only have like 1,000 subscribers there after a couple months. It doesn't seem there's a big appetite for left-wing content on Rumble. It doesn't really hurt us in any way to leave the content up, but we're thinking about, okay, we tried it and there's not much of an appetite. Maybe we'll leave the content up. Maybe we won't. Lastly today, Catherine wrote in about My Pillow. Catherine says, did you see the Consumer Reports ratings for My Pillow? The quality is mediocre at best. I think Consumer Reports really tried to be nice about it, but they are paid truth tellers. My mother bought a few about 7 years ago. She was addicted to TV sales pitches, and it was the worst pillow I ever tried to sleep on. The lumpiness was annoying and uncomfortable. It just didn't work for me. It was nothing more than chopped up foam. Personally, I love a good quality down pillow. Yeah, so two things. One, I have never owned any My Pillow products, but many of you have written in. Most of you say that they're not good. Every once in a while, I'll get an email from someone who says, guys, I hate Mike Lindell as much as anybody. He's a loon, but the pillows are good. So conflicting reports, generally negative. I have stopped talking about down pillows on my show because every time I say I like a good down pillow, people write in and say, David, those are cruel. The goose feathers and the duck feathers, etc. So, Catherine, it's great that you're enjoying a down pillow. I no longer talk about my pillows because it's become too contentious with my own audience. All right, you can write in info@davidpakman.com. Send me your questions, comments, etc. We have a great bonus show coming up for you today. Every day, we do an extra show for our members. Sign up at joinpakman.com. You'll get instant access to the bonus show, and you can now gift memberships. We have a backlog of about 700 people who want a membership but can't afford one. You can check the box that says this is a gift, and we will give your membership to someone in need. We will see you then.